The progress bar is moving and we're live. Good evening, I'm Javed Iqbal from Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Biplab Ghosh from Washington. Welcome to our Get Out of the Vote broadcast with Nazda Alam and Alex Bausch. Sorry, probably I murdered his name. Anyway, we're pleased to have Alex, who is now coordinating the Biden-Harris campaign in Massachusetts. He has been with VP Biden campaign from his primary. He served as the deputy to the state director of Massachusetts during the primary. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and start to activate all of you to help get Donald Trump out of the White House.
We'll first hear from Nazda Alam. Nazda Alam is a prominent political activist, senior leader in the Massachusetts Democratic Party, and president of Nazda Alam Foundation. Her relentless work to promote Muslim women and Bangladeshi Americans and liberal causes is widely recognized in the Democratic Party and liberal movements. Welcome, Nazda Alam. We'd like to hear from you why an immigrant, a woman, a religious minority, and someone from Bangladesh decided to step up and speak up. And what was the first thing you did? Can you tell us about your political journey, why you did it, what gap you decided to fill, and how we can help more, how we can get more people engaged?
Thank you, and I am so honored and humbled to be with you and inviting me to talk about my story and who I am and what I can do in this election era. So my household, when I was born in a small town in Bangladesh, and I grew up with the idea of social justice. And I grew up in my, watching Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Madame Teresa's picture in my living room. That was in Tangail, Bangladesh, when I was little. So this is not new that when I came here, I was that conscious that social justice, inequality, economic inequality, or environmental inequality. So, but my actual move started after 9/11. I was a Muslim female working at the state office in Massachusetts, and that 9/11, the 9 o'clock, I was in the office. We were watching in the TV in our lunchroom, and we were watching, and all of a sudden somebody just say, "We don't trust Nazda." But I was in that office for 7 years before that. You know, that's give me a little bit. Then I need to show who actually Muslim are. It's not always a negative connotation. And since then, I never felt that I'm a Muslim. I wanted to show people that who I am with my activities, with my active participation. And then first thing after 9/11, I live in Metro West area, and then the women from Welland, Western, Sudbury, we created a book club. It's called Daughters of Abraham. It's kind of unity thing. We thought that saying that Nazda Alam is Muslim, Sharon is Christian, or Adrian is Jewish, how about we can say the Nazda, Sharon, Adrian, we are the daughters of Abraham. Because all three religions came from the Abraham philosophy. So that's the first thing I started. And then after that, 2004, I felt like it's not only social issues, so it depends our life, our children's life, and so, our grandchildren, so what we can do. So I moved in Weston in 2000, and then I joined the local town committee. That the voice has to be channelized some way. So I thought the party, and I'm a lifelong Democrat anyway. So 2000, I started joining the Western Town Committee. And then 2004, my first active political campaign was for Howard Dean. I was in Vermont, I was in New Hampshire, but unfortunately, I was diagnosed for colon cancer in April of 2004. So I had to resume my campaign, so I was not. But then 2008, I ran for the Democratic State Committee the first time. And then I was one of the volunteer for Hillary Clinton, because I always feel the women voice, and women needs to have their own place rather than just special thing, And Hillary Clinton was always on my when in 1980 she said that women's rights is the human right. So that was connect me. So I organized with the Muslim, first I started immigrant group. That was in Massachusetts, the Brazilian community, Hispanic community, and Muslim community. So that time, because I was the Muslim, and we had two other Muslim Democratic State Committee, one passed away, Mustaq Mirza. So we started, organizing the Muslim voter registration project. And that time I was the chairwoman for the Muslim voter registration project in Massachusetts. And so at some point it gave me that I felt that this is our adoptive home. We are here not temporarily. We live here, our children is growing up here, our family. So we have, if we take benefit from this country, we need to give back something. And participating, the voting, your voice is part of that. So I always tell my friends, family, Bangladeshi community, just make sure that you listen and you raise your voice. It's not only listen, you have to make sure that what you said, what you understand, and what you can question. So basically, I started 2008, just our community or the immigrant community, few good things. Just talk to your neighbor. Who is your neighbor? Just go to the town or city hall at least once a month. Go see who's the town clerk or my goal was just to get involved in. It doesn't have to politics, just to get in. And then I ask people that just go for a coffee with your colleague, wherever you work. You work in the high tech or you work in a school, in the daycare, just go for a coffee or lunch with your colleague. So that's the way I started my involvement, and I encourage other people involvement. And that time people realize that the Muslims are not bad people, because they are just like anybody else. We have, when we met with my next door neighbor or my town clerk, they have the same issue, their kids' school issue, their job issue, their daycare issue. So it's basically when you connect with someone, you enrich yourself.
Great, thank you.
So, Nazda, thank you for your great introduction. It will help people. So Alex, can you tell us about yourself a little bit? What is your role in the campaign? How the Biden campaign is reaching out to the voters, and based on that, how can we engage ourselves to reach out to the voters?
Yeah, so I I got the political bug a little bit later. So I'm originally from the Chicagoland area. And when I graduated college in 2011, I moved to New York City and was doing digital corporate work, stuff on social media, digital advertising, all that, and never really wanted to work in politics. I always followed the news and political things closely, but I never really acted on it, mostly because I didn't, I thought that people were in politics and government for the right reasons and all that. But during the 2016 election, that really changed for me. My older brother, so I'm 31, my older brother Adam's 33, who has Down syndrome. And so hearing Donald Trump mock disabled news reporters and people with disabilities and starting to try to take healthcare away from people really enraged me. And so that's when I wanted to get involved into politics. And so after the 2016 election, I moved from New York, where I was living at the time, to Boston. And last cycle, I worked for Bob Massey, who ran for governor of Massachusetts and was his digital director. And then when Vice President Biden announced that he was running this cycle, I really wanted to work for him because he's always meant a lot to me personally. So since I was a young kid, around 6 or 7, I've dealt with a stutter and speech fluidity issues. And so the vice president has always meant a lot to me because he had a stutter when he was younger, and he overcame that to become vice president. And so like I always looked up to him as an example, because if someone like him can overcome it to become vice president, then someone like me can overcome it to be anything that I wanted to do. And so he also helped pass the American Disability Act. He's one of the co-authors of that, and that really meant a lot to my family with my brother when my mom and dad were raising my brother, to give my brother equal rights and things like that. So I've always looked up to the vice president. So I was the deputy to the state director during the primary, and now coordinating the entire state. And so because Massachusetts is a blue state, people have this connotation that, Secretary Clinton won Massachusetts by 31-ish points. Vice President Biden is up in the polls by 38 points. This is a safe blue state. Nothing's going to matter here. But people in Massachusetts can really play a very large role. We had a volunteer recruitment list when I started in the primary statewide of 1,500 people. Right now, that list is almost up to 130,000. So there's 130,000 people statewide that want to volunteer or have donated to the campaign. And so we are organizing, building out local teams, and then starting to virtually mobilize those people. So like last week alone, we made 25,000 phone calls into Pennsylvania, into swing states. So like even though it is safe here, we can build out a very powerful organization to then help elect not just Vice President Biden, but Democrats up and down the ballot, because as Vice President Biden always says, that this election is not about just defeating Donald Trump. It is about defeating Trumpism in all of its forms. And so we need to flip the White House. We need to flip the Senate. We need to expand the House, get more blue governors, get more blue Democratic state houses and state Senate across the country. So we are doing a whole lot of things. We're holding virtual town halls. There are weekend of actions. There are weekly and daily phone banks, both locally to recruit more volunteers. There's phone banks to out of state, there's texting banks, there's postcard writing, there's many ways to get involved and to target those voters.
I wanted to piggyback Alex's, point that why even Massachusetts is a blue state, why still it is important to vote. As an immigrant and a Muslim minority, if we vote in Massachusetts and your name registered voter as a minority immigrant, and that will give the total average number. Like if we have 84,000 Muslim in Massachusetts, but there is no probably Muslim in Alaska. So if we vote all 84,000, it will give the whole country average up. This is really important. It's not the blue state only. We don't need to. It is to register your name as a voter. You voted for Democrat. That's one thing. And also the total number of Muslim or total number of Hispanic, total number of Asian American, how many participated in the local election, statewide and nationwide. So that is really important that everybody needs to join. And we know that voting is not a privilege; it is a right. So each and every person, no matter is a blue state or battleground state or red state, we need to vote.
Yeah. So thank you very much. So that leads perfectly into my next question, that it is our right and it is absolutely critical that we vote. And the Democratic Party is associated more with diversity and inclusiveness, and we welcome people of all shapes and colors and attitudes under that big tent, but immigrants usually have low turnout. And the question is, like, especially thinking about Bangladeshis, we like to sit at home and discuss politics all the time, politics about the United States or politics about Bangladesh, and we have an opinion about almost everything. Why doesn't that translate into actually showing up to vote? And the second part of that question is, what can we do to motivate people to show up to vote? COVID makes it hard to volunteer to actually drive someone to the polling place. And the mail-in ballot thing was a little bit iffy because of the disinformation being spread by Trump and his cohorts. But what can we do come November? What can we do to actually make sure that people show up to vote? And again, not just in Massachusetts, but everywhere else too. So Nazda Alum, if you could share your opinion on that.
Again, I would say that as an immigrant, the Trump administration is anti-immigrant, Muslim ban. The Hispanics are rapists and criminal. So you name it. So after 3.5 years, almost close to 4 years, what we have seen as a citizen of this country, no matter immigrant or the born citizen, everybody should question that. Is that the country we came for? That is a question, my question. I've been here 41 years, and this is the first time I feel unsafe myself. Even I'm involved, and it's not the America we came for. Everybody, no matter what, came for a better life, right? And we did that. And unfortunately, Bangladeshi community or Indian community kind of privileged immigrant. Most we have educated, we have job situation good. Our kids we don't have substance abuse, drug issue. We do not have, like under the radar, the domestic violence issue. We don't have a dropout. Our children, 2016, we did a research that 84% of Muslim kids finish high school, whether the mainstream is only 31%. 67% of Muslim immigrant or the other South Asian immigrant has a 4-year college degree, but the mainstream, it is the less than 21%. So we are kind of privileged group, you know what I mean? Immigrant privilege group. And we did not go for vote because it didn't impact us. You know what I mean? We when we came, we had a job, our kids are going good school, we have home, we have nice car. So life is good all about that. But now, last 3.5 years, the Muslim ban, and especially right now, the Trump administration ordered that the immigrant student, foreign student, they have to go back because it's the, virtual class. This is unbelievable. So it is a dangerous time, and I would request and I would advise all our people that please tell your friend, your family member, your children, adult children, that this is really important time to pay attention what's going on in this country. And it's not only the presidential election, our life impact with local politics. The 2012, we organized in Cambridge City the Muslim holiday. That was the first time that only Massachusetts city has a Muslim holiday, Eid holiday, because we organized, the Muslim came to the city hall, they raised their voice. So it is important that if we raise our voice, we talk about that, and we can have a safe and better future.
If I can, I would just like to add two kind of points to that. One is that traditionally Democrats only turn out in presidential cycles. They only come out every 4 years. So like they showed up for Obama in 08 and in 12, and then some sat home in 16. And so it's always important to vote in every election. So in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, anytime there's an election, vote, because the saying is all politics is local, which is true. And so that's how real change is done, is very much at the local and then state level, and then it gets moved up to the national level. And one other thing that I would like to say is this election, in my mind, it's not about left versus right or Democrat versus Republican. This is like, what do we want to be as a country? Do we want to be tear people down and fear and monger them, or do we want to have a more hopeful vision? Like this upcoming election is like not about like tax policy or anything like that. This is about, do we want to have fair and free elections? Do we want everyone to have, health care? Like, these are very important broad views on life. And it's like, do we want to live into a country where not everyone can vote versus the just because of the color of their skin? And so I just feel that, I know that everyone always says that this is the most important election of our lifetime. And I remember when I was in college in 08, people said that about McCain versus Obama, but I never would have thought that our democracy would ever be on the ballot. And I really do think that it is on the ballot this year, and like that this is not conservative versus liberalism. This is about democracy. And so I just urge people to vote, and then once we get Democrats in there, then start to push them as activists to then invoke certain policies.
So,
Great.
so
That's
Alex,
an excellent point. Thank you.
so Alex, thank you. Basically,
Yeah.
my next question was about this importance about voting. I mean, like you, Nazda, already answered. So my question is like, now we have to basically in the last cycle, Democrats didn't come to vote, and that's why so we know that this is the most important election in our lifetime. So we have to bring voters. So my question to you, as the campaign organizer of the Massachusetts, how you are coordinating with the other state Biden campaigns so that those people are getting help from you, making sure that other people are engaged. If you can elaborate a little bit more on that, then basically that will help us, our group members, to become a part of that.
So you're asking how are we partnering with some of the other states?
Yes.
Yeah, so every week I coordinate with the out of state director. So there's an out of so each of the battleground states has an out of state director. So every week I talk to the out of state director in New Hampshire, in Maine, in Pennsylvania, in North Carolina, and mostly I'm focusing on the northeastern states, but like I have talked to the out of state directors in Wisconsin and Michigan and Arizona and things like that. And so what we do is once we have a local team that has like a very solid volunteer base, we then try to mobilize them online because we can't canvas and stuff, but we then start to virtually mobilize them to call, text voters in those key battleground states. So like last Sunday, we had 70 people join a Somerville for Biden Harris phone bank, and they called into Pennsylvania. And so just within that one local phone bank, they called over 1,000 voters. And so we are partnering with these battleground states to then drive turnout into those areas. And so this election, I think every election you have to give people a reason to vote, not just vote to vote. You have to motivate people to then want to vote. And so that's what we are trying to do on the Biden campaign, is give people a hopeful reason and a positive voice for the future to then have them turn out to vote. And so what I would say to people is that, like, I hate phone calls. Like, that's not my favorite thing to do, as someone that has dealt with a stutter and speech fluidity. Like, obviously I hate being on the phone, but this is like making phone calls is be between phone calls and sending texts, like that's the best way to reach people now. And so even if it's like an hour a week, that's better than 0 hours. If like you send 300 to 500 texts through the Biden text program, that's better than sending 0. So we just need as many people as possible to get off the sidelines and just get engaged, because this is just so important, and we are working with all those battleground states. And so if through our texting program, if folks on one day could text into Arizona, one day they're texting into Michigan, one day they're texting into Pennsylvania, and so people can really have a impact in all these key battleground states. And so even if calls aren't your favorite, you can text, you can write postcards, you can call your friends in battleground states and ask them to volunteer. So there are many different ways to get involved, and I would just say, just because you don't like to do one part of it, that doesn't mean to not get involved at all. And so I'm just trying to urge or even beg people that that this is just so critical, that we need all of you to help us out, and we can't do it without you.
Alex, can I just say some strategy? You know,
Yeah,
what I mean?
sure,
Their
sure.
question was that
Was the strategy?
why the
Sure.
immigrant have don't vote. So
Sure.
I know they can do, but is there, through the vote builder, we can figure it out, like New Hampshire, how many immigrant or how many, because vote builder has that. Like in Massachusetts, 84,000 town by town, we can find out that these are the Muslim or these are the South Asian. So if I can add that each state, their vote builder can produce that number. So if Biplov in Washington state, if he and his volunteer can get the list of that particular targeted group, you know what I mean? So that probably will be kind of, we can do same in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine and Vermont. So how about that? So,
yeah. So like, I just didn't know how technical you wanted to get, but so basically we use a system called Vote Builder, and there are individual tags within Vote Builder. So then like I could run a tag based on the people who you guys want to target, and then we can build like either a phone bank or a text bank based on those people, and then you guys could do direct outreach just to them alone. And so like that's a very easy thing to do. Like I could give you access to the ones in Massachusetts, and then I could then work with the out of the state ones in New Hampshire and Maine, and then let's you guys call those voters directly yourselves. So
Biplov, do you have any questions? So then I can add something that how we can do that strategy.
So basically my importance from our group point of view, we really like to be what Alex has said, that basically to include Arizona, because I think Arizona is the most important state in this election cycle. There are a lot of really good volunteers from this group who is actually working in the Arizona local election. So if Alex can actually help us communicate with the Arizona, the election Biden campaign, that will be really helpful for us.
Yeah, and then they can give you the exactly targeted list, even Hispanic or Muslim or South Asian. So that will be good, that we can connect more directly our own group.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No, and I was gonna say, like, the Biden campaign is working very closely with the DNC and all the states' Democratic parties. And so when you're calling voters, it's not just on behalf of Biden Harris, it's for Mark Kelly in Arizona and all the down ballot candidates there as well. But like we can pull a list of Latino voters, Muslim voters, anything like that, and then you guys can directly call them. And so like I think that working that way in a much more targeted outreach is actually much more powerful than like just calling random voters.
The targeted.
Yeah.
And
So
I also wanted to add, like, if we target 5 Senate seats, which is we're working on South Carolina, New Hampshire, and then few, and then we can figure out the immigrant voters or the Muslim voters or Asian voters. So we can target those 5 Senate seats. We can choose which 5 there, because I like to make compartmental work that helps really well. You know what I mean? I wanted to target this group, and I wanted to be with that group, and I wanted to get this Senate, the presidential, or even the governor election that state. So,
right.
Biplab, if you feel that in Washington or Arizona, you have a good volunteer, and then Alex or Biden campaign will connect them, and they will give, if you want Asian, South Asian list, or if you want Muslim list, or if you want total immigrant, it's the way how you want it to work. It's very fruitful if we target this. Like if I was saying in Massachusetts, I wanted to target 84 Muslim, no matter what. I'm not going to involve with other, but this 84, I will have 25 or 50 volunteers. We can call not only once, twice, or third time before the election, because the immigrant, they forget, you know what I mean? So, and other thing, has a question that how we teach our voters, because this time this is a new thing, online and then in person. So my foundation, Nazda Foundation, with coordination with the Democratic State Party, we did a Zoom training for the immigrant. And we have another training is coming in September, end of September. So it will teach our community leaders how to request ballot, how to absentee ballot, and then the deadlines and stuff, because it's a lot of things to remember, So that we can do with Biden campaign or state party, that train the leaders. And then you work with your group how to request the ballot or absentee ballot or mailing ballot or in-person ballot, which one?
Right.
So,
and oh,
no, go ahead, please, Alex.
No, I was just gonna say that the Biden campaign has a coalitions department to reach all these other groups of voters, and then within each state, so like let's say Arizona, there's someone that is in charge of outreach to these different groups of voters as well, in a much more targeted approach. And then also what was the other thing I was going to say? That the Biden campaign has a ballot chasing program, which basically means reaching out to people to request a mail-in ballot, then to make sure once they've requested it that it arrives, and then once it arrives, for then people to send it back, because the campaign wants as many people to either vote by mail or vote early. And like that's what the campaign is pushing very hard now.
So,
Alex, do you think that we can do a Zoom kind of training that
Sure.
we can be clear, then we can tell our people, our community, our friend, neighbors, that how it truly do, because it sounds like a lot of people might do mistake.
Yeah.
And we don't want to miss any vote.
So
Right.
one question actually came in from Texas, and we were going to hold the questions until the end, but it's very relevant to the discussion we just had. And I'm going to read that question. It says, there are states like Texas where no option for mail-in voting unless sick or 65 plus years old exists. How do we communicate to voters in each state how they are expected to vote and what options they have available in terms of requesting absentee ballots without creating confusion?
So how that would work is there's like a pre-built-in script for every phone bank, every texting campaign, and so each state campaign would provide you all with a fact sheet and with a script that outlines that for when you call and text these voters to say, okay, here are the mail-in ballot like deadlines, here are the rules, things along those lines. So each coordinated campaign in all these states knows what the specific laws and guidelines are to then equip the volunteers to know those rules when they talk to voters.
That is absolutely wonderful. So thank you very much, Alex, for sharing the story about your brother and about your own stuttering and why you decided to get involved. And I feel like we all have stories. We see the social injustice, whether it's personal or about someone we care about, or just happening around us, and we got involved. And having you and Nazda talk to us and sort of educate us and our viewers about how to get engaged, how to do this right way, is extremely valuable. So we'll launch into some QA now. Biplab, do you have any questions?
Yes. So one more question, Alex. Before asking a question, I want to make sure that about Arizona, Texas, we will contact with you separately outside of the meeting. There are people who are actually very interested.
Great.
So we will please wait for that call. Okay. The question is very simple one. First one is, what is your best opening line when to call a person about asking for a vote for Biden and Harris?
I can I can tell you because I've been doing the phone. I love phone bank, Alex. That's my favorite. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically you call the phone number, a number that may I speak. You can say that person. Or sometime I do that. Can I talk to? So then if the person pick up the phone, I always don't ask the name because nobody who is that person is a voter. So I can convince him or her, you know. So, and then this time is basically I say that, are you okay? Your family is okay? Well, like, because this is situation is really not well, so we have to. Last election for Markey and then local election, I did a lot of phone bank and people feel close when you ask, how are you doing? How is your family doing? So it's not fast that are you a voter or are you that. If you check how things going in their life. And then script, will give you exactly script, the person who the elected person and who's the person we are calling that. But the big before and after, like if somebody said that, oh, I will vote for Markey. And I say, oh, you made my day. Okay. Just, pat their back, what I mean? So that was not in the script, but I always said that this is the first time you told me that I have so far that. But Alex, tell that what is the script before and after?
Yeah, so basically, like, no one is like completely cold calling these people with like no information or no like built-in script. Everything is there on a screen. So it's name, number, age,
It's everything.
sex, there, right? And then there's things to say as a guide, so that people aren't like totally cold calling. But you don't have to read it word for word. And so, because people on the other end of the line sometimes can tell when someone's reading it as a machine, but no one would ever have to call and like make it up as they go along. And like these calls are never strictly like policy based. Like you don't need to know Biden's stance on fracking or like really healthcare. Like this is talking to voters and sharing your personal reason for maybe you why you are supporting Biden and the local Democratic Party. And so it like everything is fully in there, with script, talking points, references, all of that stuff, because the campaign does not feel like they want to throw volunteers off of the deep end. They want everyone to feel comfortable to then come back to make phone calls. And as one person told me on my very first campaign, people come for the candidate, but they stay for the people. And so we really want to make everyone feel comfortable. And so there, before every phone bank is a training, and where folks will go through the script and talking points and things like that.
And one thing I wanted to add, because if we target our immigrant group like Bangladeshi or Muslim, so we are prepared already that if something named Yasmin Khan, so I know who Yasmin Khan can be, and then you will see is the person independent or Democrat. So then you have a little bit mental preparation how you start,
Right.
So these are the clue thing, or you will see the name, like say age and the party affiliation and the cultural. I mean, any Indian name, I say, oh my God, your beautiful name. But I would not say a Midwest white guy that you have a beautiful name. You know what I mean? So that it's all about you, how you connect with that 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So basically, Alex and Nazda are saying that we have some more information before talking to actual voters. We know about So now in this election, the connecting to Republican-minded independent voters is the most probably very important. How do you have any data that, okay, we are Republican-oriented independent voters that we need to talk, and how do you talk to them?
Sorry,
I'm going to say, and then I will.
Basically, what I'm trying to say that, yeah, go ahead.
Could you repeat that, because the internet was?
Basically, what I was trying to say that, like, do you have more information about when I'm calling a certain voter that, okay, this voter's affiliation might not be Democratic, it might be a Republican-minded independent voter. So is that information available so that when I talk to them, I talk in a different way?
Sometimes they have that the state that what last voting block, like if that person voted last 3 years Republican presidential candidate, so even though independent, so you can, I mean, Alex, how do you get that? I think vote builders have that.
So when Nazda and I say vote builder, what that basically means is the state public voting file. So like we have a voting file through the state. And so like if we wanted to have like a very targeted approach, like we could call people that are called lean GOP, which are people that have voted Republican in the past, but like aren't as strongly tied to Donald Trump. So like maybe they voted for McCain in 08, but Obama in 12. Those are like lean Republican voters. But like this is like within Vote Builder, you can see, did the person vote Republican in presidential? Did they vote in the midterms? Did they vote in the off years? And so like you can then work with the local state coordinated campaign and say like, I want a phone bank universe of Muslim voters who lean Republican, to then try and convince them to then vote for the Democratic coordinated campaign. So like you can definitely have a much more targeted phone bank by asking these people to like pull you a list that is very targeted.
That's absolutely wonderful to know. We are learning a lot of new things. And so one thing that I have personally felt is like, okay, so I call, as Nazda Alam said, someone in the Midwest, and my accent might actually get in the way. But the reverse is also true. If I'm calling someone from South Asia, my accent might actually be an advantage, because he says, oh, he is from the same region. So that might help. So going off a little bit from the voting and this election. So Nazda Alam, this question is for you from Taz in Texas. Can you please explain what a delegate is and what the delegate's responsibilities are, how one becomes a delegate?
The delegate is every 4 years when the presidential election, the DNC has their Democratic National Convention every 4 years. And then every state has a number of delegates that can join the Democratic National Convention. And then there are, when you have more than one candidate, the primary, so each, like I can tell my personal experience that I was supporting 2012 Obama because there was no second person. So everybody ran for the delegate for Obama. But 2008, Obama and Hillary. So people who supported which presidential candidate, they can run as a delegate behind that candidate. And then delegate selection is a two-way. One is your constitutional district, and one is the Democratic State Party. They elect some candidates. So the Democratic, district is like this year and 2016 and 12, always I ran from my district. But even I am a Democratic State Committee member, but I thought that, Alex knows, right? You are first was worried
Yes.
that I will not. I said, no, I have a plenty Muslim immigrant and voter. So I ran from my district, which is 24 towns under that district. So we campaign just like everybody else does. We send the flyer, we make phone call, we campaign as a delegate. So then we selected. Then after the district, Alex, can you please a little bit explain what is the number size? Do you know the portion of the district?
So it depends on so each presidential candidate that gets above 15%, and each congressional district gets a certain slot of delegates. So in Massachusetts, Warren, Sanders, and Biden all got
Over
delegates
15%.
to go to the national convention because they all got above 15% of the votes at the congressional district level. And so Nazda won a delegate slot at the congressional district level. Then the state party picks at large delegates, and then there are local elected officials go, and then all those people are part of the Massachusetts delegation to then go to the convention. And then Nazda, you can talk about like what it's like to be a delegate at the convention.
I mean, as a delegate it's like every 4 years you have a get together, all your Democrat all over the country, you know. So like 2012, my personal experience, I was sitting next to who's the California senator, just Barbara Boxer, you know, just a tiny woman. And so I was sitting next to me and I talked, and she asked me where I'm from. And then she said, and when she said that Barbara Boxer, I said, my gosh, I am next to Barbara Boxer. You know, it is. And then 2012, let me tell you my personal experience. It is again, like all the Democrat are also all of the celebrity. 2012, the people get, other than delegate, there are thousands of guests come for the presidential nomination. When Obama was giving that night, it was like, I don't know how many, but like many people. We have assigned seat. I went to the, for my dinner and came back, and I was the one guy sitting on my seat. And I was saying that this is my seat. And he said, okay, I just wanted to say it because I was standing. And then my next delegate from Massachusetts said, you don't know him? I said, no, I don't. And she said, it's MC Hammer. It was like that. So it is a great place to get together, get to know people, Democrat, and also you learn a lot of policy issue, which like our state, we deal one, but the other state, they have different. It's no matter how you read or news, but the person to person is really, exciting. And I really like that connection. And my impression, I always wear the sari, my national dress, and that gave me the attention. Was like every time I go, and people think that I was the only person wearing that special outfit. So that was my, So anything else you want to add, Alex, about that?
I would basically say the Democratic convention every 4 years is a who's who within Democratic politics. There are every year past presidents speak, past party leaders, every TV network is there, and just because they can only fit so many people in a arena or a town hall, the entire city is filled with Democrats. There's like hundreds of thousands of people that go and pack. So I think in 2004 the convention was in Boston. 2008 was Denver, 2012 was Charlotte, and like the city is packed with people and bars and restaurants and hotel lobbies, and it's an experience just to go, even if you aren't a delegate. So
it's like a democratic pilgrimage.
Exactly.
That is wonderful. I hope like this discussion and your experience will inspire other Bangladeshi Americans to aspire to become state delegates and to other political offices.
Yeah, I encourage our Bangladeshi women, start from school committee, town committee, anything they learn, and then that's significant, and that goes up there.
And even though that the national one is every 4 years, every state has a state convention, which is every year.
Yeah.
And those are just as cool, and it's much easier to get voted to the state convention than it is the national one. So I think it's very cool for people to try to go to the state convention every 4 years. I mean, every year. Yeah, exactly.
Chandradeep, do you think we should ask one more question? Or
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So it's about Alex. We got that question from one of the participants. So basically, it's about voting in this election. The voting for the older people might be a problem. So do you have any Biden campaign has any kind of buddy program, like where younger people will take older people to the voting booth if they are voting on the day? Do you have any plan, or how that can be done, or how can be achieved, or what can we do here?
Yeah, so there are the campaigns developing different strategies, but they are they're trying to partner or work with some companies such as Uber and Lyft, so that they can provide cheaper rides to get people to the polls. They're also working a driver program, which basically means if someone is a volunteer and they want to pick up voters to then drive them to the polls. And so there are people that literally just will start volunteering at 7 a.m. on election day and work until 8 p.m. and they'll just pick up as many different people as possible to get them to the polls. So there's a lot of different kind of outreach to just get people out to vote. But the biggest thing is just trying to get people to do mail-in ballot if they can't physically get to the polls, if those states have a mail-in ballot law. So,
and I think the local campaign can more help the way
Yep.
they must have some,
yeah.
All right, thank you. We are coming to the end of the program. Nazda alum, any closing comments?
I am so glad that you all have this organization and you came forward. This is excellent, excellent. This is my best time ever with my own people. That's right. And I am glad that Alex is here. We can make a big, plan, strategy with that. And I hope not only Massachusetts, Biplov is watching, other state, but my target will be New England. And we can find out through Alex or our vote builder that actually how many immigrant or Muslim voters in each state, concrete figure, and then we can sit down that how we do the phone banking or postcard or whichever we cannot lose any single vote. Even in Massachusetts, I want every 84,000 votes should be, there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think 50-state strategy is absolutely the right way to go. And Alex, we look forward to working with you and through you to reach other colleagues of yours in other states so we can expand the program elsewhere. And any parting words for our audience?
I would just like to thank everyone that's joining this. I'm sure people have other things to do with family obligations and things like that, but this is just so important. And if there's any way that the Biden campaign can help you guys help the campaign, please don't hesitate to reach out. But we can definitely get you started on a much more targeted approach, and we can go from there. But I just want to urge everyone once again that there's only 50 something days left, and we need everyone plus their friends and family to get off the sidelines and help us, and then just vote.
I just wanted to add that my role could be overlapping because I'm with the Muslim for Biden national level, and then Women for Biden also. So I will connect my information to you guys always, how that works. And Alex, do you think that Biden campaign can have vote builder for this group? These are all high-tech people.
So you would have to partner with those individual states. So like I could definitely give you the Massachusetts vote. Yeah, like that's not a problem. But like I can't give you vote builder access to like Arizona. You would then have to work with like those individual states teams, but yes, I could 100% give you vote builder to.
That's great. That's good.
Yeah, knowing how that works, we can take that step and we moving in other states.
I mean, Alex can go through the step, and then it will be assigned one of the person in your group,
right?
And then from there, the whole group will work.
Excellent. So Nazda alum Alex Bausch and our audience, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I just want to leave with this word to our audience. Our vote is our weapon against lawlessness and tyranny that this current administration is displaying. And civic participation is the price, the rent we pay for living in a civilized society. So please volunteer, go out and vote, and encourage others to vote. It is impossible to add how important this election is. This is the fight for our existence and our way of life. So please join us in that fight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, I got disconnected, but anyway, thank you.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, all of you.
Okay.
And
do you want to make a group email so Alex can be in that email?
Yeah.
So we can do the correspondence. Okay.
We shall do that.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Good night and see you at our next event.
Enjoy the long weekend.
Yeah.
I'm going Maine tonight.
We'll be volunteering.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.